Welcome once again to another edition of Weird News and Wacky History, a look behind the scenes at what's been happening through the years. I'm Pastor Roland Moss, the old history dude. Sometimes humor involves more than just making people laugh, as we'll discover today in a look at more than just funny. Police face a no-win situation when it comes to crowd violence. Use too much force and they're accused of police violence. Too little and they expose themselves to bodily harm and even death. Irish police employed humor instead to defuse a riot. A police service of Northern Ireland Land Rover was set on by about 15 bottle-throwing teens in Belfast in May of 2015. Instead of breaking out shields, batons, and rubber bullets, the officers inside started playing ice cream music through their loudspeakers to show how childish the teens were acting. The crowds quickly dispersed and armed conflict was avoided. Not everyone was amused by this novel way of combating violence. Sinn Féin Councilwoman Angela Nelson was livid. It was a very immature way for police to deal with a very serious problem, she fumed. We have serious issues with on-street drinking and antisocial behavior. I would have expected the PSNI to have a more mature outlook and not come up and play ice cream tunes. But Los Angeles police have resorted to passive measures of crowd control as well. The Drew Street gang terrorized LA until police renamed the streets, giving them derogatory and ridiculous names. The gang stopped congregating there. Hey, if it works. Sometimes it's not funny to be funny. Air travel is scary. Even Wilbur and Orville Wright only flew together once lest a crash killed them both. So in 1967, San Francisco-based Pacific Airlines decided to reassure flyers about air travel by hiring comedian Stan Freberg. Known for his wacky radio satires, Freberg seemed an unlikely spokesman for a faltering airline. The first full-page ad read, "Hey there, you with the sweat in your palms. It's about time an airline fess up to something. Most people are scared witless of flying. Deep down inside, every time that big bird lifts off the runway, you wonder if this is it, right? You want to know something, fella? So does the pilot, deep down inside." PAL launched a full-scale ad campaign mocking their customers' fears. Flight attendants handed out survival kits, complete with lucky rabbits' feet and a security blanket. As each flight landed, the pilot announced, "We made it! How about that?" Freberg even had plans to paint the air fleet like passenger trains and play chugging sounds over the speaker system, since trains don't fall from the skies. When the ads went down in flames, Freberg was fired, 2 executives resigned, and Pacific Airlines was reorganized to become Air West. Crashes? Not funny. Humor is all about timing, and sometimes timing may even get you killed. From 1959 to 1964, the adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle, a flying squirrel and a moose for those too young to remember, seemed like simple childhood fun. In reality, it was scathing social satire. "We've not only offended people, but we've had trouble with countries," recalled show's creator Jay Ward. "It almost got us into a jam in Mexico, and I think our new character, Dudley Do-Right of the Mounties, may just put us at war with Canada within the year." Then there was Bullwinkle's trip to the dreadful little place called Moosylvania. Inundated with fan mail, Ward leased a tiny Minnesota island for $1,500, christened it Moosylvania, and campaigned for statehood. He and former Rin Tin Tin publicist Howard Brandy decided to personally deliver the signed petition to the White House. The campaign was wild and zany and completely ill-timed. Ward and Brandy, dressed as the flying squirrel and moose, drove up to the White House gates on October 27, 1962, with calliope music playing. Turned away at gunpoint, Ward fumed at the treatment, but it was the wrong day for levity in D.C. As fate would have it, they arrived on the exact day when the Cuban Missile Crisis was at its tensest. Sadly, Moosylvania never did become a state. Arguably, no one has ever been funnier than Robin Williams. But there was much more to the great comedian than just laughs. A blue genie, a dad desperate to spend time with his kids, a quirky disc jockey in Vietnam, an alien, a middle-aged Peter Pan, a doctor using humor to heal, Teddy Roosevelt. No one had a wider resume than did Robin Williams. But one role you may not know him for is Robin Williams, friend of dying children. A longtime faithful supporter of St. Jude Children's Hospital and Make-A-Wish Foundation, he quietly gave the gift of himself to his youngest fans. For example, in 2004, young Jessica Cole of Greensboro, North Carolina, lay dying of inoperable brain cancer. Her greatest desire was to meet Williams, whom she loved so much for his role in Mrs. Doubtfire. But then she took a turn for the worst and was able to travel to California. Unfazed, Williams chartered a plane and flew to visit her. So did he entertain her with witty improvisations and funny voices? No, the two spent the day playing cards and watching football on TV. "He acted like he'd known her forever," said Jessica's dad, Mark. "He was a lot of fun to be with." Jessica passed away 2 months later. Williams planted a redwood tree in her memory. That's the kind of guy he was. And that's all the time we have for this episode of Weird News and Wacky History, a look behind the scenes of what's been happening through the years. I'm Pastor Roland Moss, historian, author, and speaker, wishing that all your history may be just a little bit weird.